Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Mill Valley Film Festival and the screening of Ladybuds, an active cinema film. My name is Maribel Guevara. I'm the active cinema programmer, and it's my pleasure to present to you today the US premiere of this amazing film directed by Russo. Let's please welcome her. I would also like to thank the Sonoma Hills Farms for being the sponsor of this event tonight. Thank you. The Mill Valley Film Festival staff loves your venue. Thanks so much for having us last week. We also want to thank Gross Strand, Marine Convention and Visitors Bureau, and the Film Resource Office. I'm just going to hand it to Chris. Very important day. Sorry, I made it. And well, very happy to have you here. So I'll let you introduce your film.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, I can't see a thing. I want to thank everybody for coming today. This is crazy. This is kind of like a dream come true. My name is Russo. I'm the director of Ladybuds, and I do just want to thank the Mill Valley Film Festival for having me premiere my for having the U.S. premiere of Ladybuds. I feel like this festival was the perfect venue since this is where it all started up in Northern California, the history of cannabis. And I want to run through a couple of thank yous because so many people that are here helped me make this film, and it wouldn't have happened without the help of the community and of all the supporters. First and foremost, my executive producer, Shauna Harden. Shauna, thank you so much. I don't know where you are, I can't see, but thank you for believing in me and in the film and just seeing how important it was to tell the stories of women in cannabis. I want to shout out to Joyce Sinelli and Mike Harden and the whole Big Rock team. Thank you all so much for pushing the film forward. Also early on, Chris and Bree Emerson came on board from Level. Thank you guys for your support. Some other names of people that may or may not be here: Andy Bensky, Richard Schoenberg, Rebecca Sekulich, all helped with the film. All my Kickstarter donors and GoFundMe people, thank you so much for just backing this film and helping make it happen. I'm really nervous if you can't tell. All right, so my crew, I wouldn't have been able to do this without the people that came on board and basically worked for free and stuck with me for years. And some of them are here tonight. I want to give a big shout out to my cinematographer and producer, Christian Bruno. Christian Bruno, he made all the lovely pictures in the movie. Michael Katz, my producer. Michael's been with me since the beginning. He's helped develop the story. He lives in Mendocino, and he is fighting hard for small farmers. The local DPs who actually contributed on the film were Claire Major and Raphael Roy. Not sure if they're here. And then finally, thank yous to the women who shared their stories with me in the film and invited me into their homes and made me part of their families and trusted me to tell their stories as they reached for their dreams to make a mark for themselves in the cannabis industry. And they include Chiah Rodriques, Karyn Wagner, Sue Taylor, the Bud Sisters, and Felicia Carbajal. And lastly, I just want to say, when Prop 64 was on the ballot a few years ago, it was 2016, I knew we were about to have a sea change in California. People were going to look at this plant differently, economically, and it was a major moment. It was a historical moment. And I was super intrigued by the number of women that were in the space. I had no idea that so many women were into cannabis, and they are in fact the backbone of the industry. So I figured I would document this moment through a female lens because it was something that I actually hadn't seen in cannabis media. And when I was also doing the research for the film, I stumbled upon the little-known history, the queer history of cannabis activism around the AIDS crisis in San Francisco in the 90s, and I felt like that narrative was getting lost in this history. And I'm really excited to tell stories that elevate women's voices, people on the margins, and ideas that aren't super mainstream so that I can challenge people to actually think out of the box and look at ideas a little bit differently. And so anyway, thank you for coming. We'll be here after the film. Enjoy it.
Let's please welcome the wonderful film crew and cast we have with us today. Russo, director of the film, Michael Katz, producer, Sue Taylor, Karyn Wagner, and Chiah Rodriques. They're all here. Well, Chris, thank you so much for this beautiful and important film you have shared with us this afternoon, and all of you for sharing your wonderful and inspiring stories. I guess we will start with maybe acknowledging the process, Chris, as you mentioned a little bit with your introduction of deciding to make this film, and later maybe Michael can help us walk through how did you find these incredible characters to follow through.
Wow. Yeah, I was really intrigued when cannabis legalization was on the ballot. And as I said earlier, the number of women that were in the space was really intriguing to me because as I said, I've never seen so many women step out of the shadows and talk about cannabis. I've always thought it was like a bro culture and, the stoner films. And these women were really inspiring to me. And I started to go to farmers markets and women networking events in cannabis. And I met Karyn Wagner in Denver at a Women Grow conference. I met Chiah at an Emerald Exchange event. And I just started to get invited to their farms and their stories kind of blew me away. So I didn't know where the film was going. I didn't know it was going to unfold so dramatically. I thought this was going to be like a film that was just like rah, 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 women in weed. But
we did too.
Everybody did. But the story, I saw the story, what was happening, and the story needed to be told. I mean, when the big businesses started to come in and just shake it up, and the John Boehners of the world, it was really disheartening. I'd always thought of this plant as like the center of the counterculture movement, and I just saw what was happening, and I needed to tell the story. And who better to tell it than the strong women in the film?
Of course, Chris had this initial idea, but then you come in, I think, in a very important role, helping follow these stories, and also you are doing these women in weed film. So how did that feel for you? How was the process?
I felt and still feel very grateful to have been given the opportunity to work to help support the telling of this incredibly important story. Like Chris said, a lot of the cannabis media that's been out in the world has definitely been focused on, stoner comedies and like all of these stereotypes. And when you start to experience more and more of the actual cannabis community, you see all the heart and care that people are putting in, and that story isn't what's getting out there. As we saw it unfolding, it was more and more clear that this was super important, and that the processes that everyone was going through, we wanted to share that so that people could understand the challenges related with cannabis legalization in California. It's not just happy folks smoking a joint on the beach. It's obviously a lot of challenges, and this is a tool now that we can use to educate people and try to improve things.
Great. I have a question for the cast, ladies. First, is this the first time you see the film, or have you seen it before?
I think most of us have seen it a couple of times now. Okay. I will tell you that I cry every time. You too. Yeah, I cry every time. I gotta tell you, I can't thank Chris and Christian Bruno, the cinematographer.
Yes.
Enough for being there. So many times they were there in a moment of celebration that we were supposed to have a moment of celebration, right? And we were shot down or, rejected, dejected, and trampled upon. So it was pretty amazing experience.
Sue? Mm-hmm. My next question was going to be, how, since the end of the film, the filmmaking process, how things have changed in your own stories. We have an update at the end, but I think that was probably a few months ago at least. So I would like to know, and you share with us where you all stand with your businesses and your projects.
Well, we have been operating in Berkeley. We're happy about that.
Yeah.
One month after we were open, pandemic hit, and they wanted to close us down. And we have a cannabis coalition in Berkeley where all the cannabis dispensary owners, we'd come together. And so we were on the phone, and they were all saying, well, they gave us the letter. They said, we're going to have to close because we're not in essential business. I say, like hell if I'm going to close. It took me 13 years to get this. I'm not closing. And nobody else went with me because they had a lot to lose because they had been in existence for a long time. But no, we did not because of that. But I also wanted to comment on something, I guess it's Michael. What Michael said, what most people don't realize that really comes very clear in this film is that the people in cannabis, especially the first starters that's been in it, people don't realize they're real live family people. They have husband and wives and children and dogs and cats. And, we are regular people of the community. We're not druggies, or somebody, we shouldn't be hiding. And one thing that's very clear with all of us is that we see the plant as a curative plant. It actually cures, and it's a viable alternative to pharmaceutical drugs.
Amen.
And that's where our passion, I know it is for Chiah, I know it is for all of us, all of the women in the film. And so I guess I wanted to say thank you for saying that.
Thank you. Chiah?
Well, now we're harvesting currently. It's harvest time in Northern California. We are in the thick of it at the moment. So I'm back at the farm, and I'm not working a full-time job at this time. And we're working hard to get the cannabis, get the medicine to the people. So yeah.
You're not working a full-time job. You're working 6 full-time jobs.
Oh yeah.
Because not working at a distribution company doesn't mean she's not working, everybody.
Yes, we work all day, every day. We live and breathe cannabis all day long.
And that's how you're supposed to do it. Breathe it in. And it also can consume it edibly. We have all kinds of suggestions.
Chris, I have one question that I want to ask all of you here, but I wanted to know if you first want to name who is in the audience, and we just give them their share of.
Sure.
thoughts.
Christian Bruno, cinematographer, producer. Stand up. He's done a fantastic job capturing close to 500 hours of footage, lurking in the background. Who else is here?
Of course, Shauna.
Shauna Hardin and the Big Rock family up there.
Mike,
Shauna,
and Joyce.
executive producer. Joyce Sinelli. Mike Hardin. Rebecca Sekulich, co-producer. Chris Emerson made a cameo from Level in the film. And there may be, Chris up there. Woo! Go Level. I'm sorry, I may be... Who else is here? Anybody who else is in the film, please just let
Chia's family.
Let us.
Jamie, River,
yes, Jamie, River, True, right here. I meant to thank you guys earlier.
Gray.
And Gray.
Here, yeah.
Gray
Dan.
Shaw. So many people are from the community are in and out of the film, and I apologize if I've forgotten some people that might be here, but it really is a community film, and the community came together supporting it financially with their opinions. They let me film all the time. It was really lovely to have their support.
Great, thank you, and thanks everybody for being here and again your work. I wanted to ask you after. For you, the filmmaking process, but obviously for you, after all these years of work and investment in this life you have, when do you think everybody, society, is gonna know cannabis business as a women business, or do you think it's already happening? What's gonna take to really normal people on the streets think about a female CEO, owner, when we mention cannabis? I don't know, where do you think that's at? Is it?
You know, I like to think about women in cannabis. I like to think about the plant is, of course, female, right? It's much more potent. But I think one of my main messages, and my colleagues will probably agree, is that we'd like people to be thinking about small business cannabis and not big business cannabis. Okay? You know, when you go into Whole Foods, you're generally shopping for fair trade chocolate, equal exchange coffee, things that are small producers that are being supported by your dollars directly, okay? And when you go into a dispensary, it's the same type of thing. It's important to know where your medicine comes from. Does it come from the John Boehners of the world who have invested all this money to do these giant mega grows, and that's what's in your little bottle of cannabis? That's really, really important to know and ask and talk about. Is it cannabis that's being grown indoors with massive, massive energy usage, okay? That is just absolutely absurd in these times to be thinking about that. Or is it outdoor cannabis that is most likely legacy cannabis? So those are the things that I'm hoping that the film tries to really get people to understand and ask questions about and support.
Thank you.
Film and women in cannabis. When I first got started in it, of course, was male dominated, and I'm all about balance. And I got up at Women's Grove meeting and said that, you know, I like men being in the cannabis industry, but they needed us to balance it out. You know, it's all about balance. Life is all about balance, and with this film that Chris has so eloquently captured, is that they need us. They need us for that balance. They need our perspective on how things are done. We add a little softer side to it, but we also tough. And so we don't give up, you know, because, you know, most of us are moms, and we know how to multitask and do many different things. And so we bring all of that, and budgeting money and everything else, we bring that balance to the industry. And so by Chris having this idea to do this, I think that'll bring a lot of light on it. So thank you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it really empowered me to have a lot more self-confidence and stand up for myself and my industry and my neighbors and my community and my family. And so I hope this inspires other people to do the same, to get on your soapbox and, you know, speak your mind and speak your truth. And so that's brought us to this place. So that makes me feel really proud. Yeah.
You should. Thank you. Chris, I want you to share with us what's the hope for the film, what's the plan to share it with big audiences in the country and outside. And also, maybe after that, we can take a look, briefly mention the ways that everybody can be part of this.
Yes, well, the film is doing a little bit of screenings on the film festival circuit, and my hope for the film is that people will see it across the country, across the world, and really think about cannabis differently and really support local businesses, change hearts and minds about cannabis, and support, you know, just diversity in cannabis. And I'm really excited to announce that the film has been picked up. So it will be released theatrically Thanksgiving weekend. Big time holiday movie. So very excited. It'll be playing across the country for a week or two at that time. It will also be available on demand at the same time and on iTunes and some platforms that you can stream. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff coming with Ladybuds, and we have partnered with two organizations that we'd like to point out, the Social Impact Center and the Origins Council. Really grateful to Mill Valley to have put us in the active cinema category genre of the films, and that means check out these two organizations. They're doing a lot of great work for highlighting different causes in cannabis. Maybe Michael, you can speak to the Origins Council. That would be great.
Sure, absolutely. So the Origins Council is made up of several heritage cannabis cultivation regions and works at the state and federal level to advocate on behalf of this small farming community. So, there's, as I'm sure all of you know, politics can be very challenging. People who have the most funds are generally having the loudest voices, and so it's essential that our small and care-filled community work together at this level. So Origins Council is working in rural regions to help provide advocacy and support to those small batch cultivators, and the Social Impact Center, of which Felicia is the executive director, they are working on expungement and all kinds of social justice efforts in the more urban environments. And just recently, thanks to her efforts, she was able to help facilitate the expungement of 60,000 convictions in Los Angeles County.
Yes, that just happened a couple of weeks ago. Very excited. She's also presenting the film at Docs MX, and there's a panel there in Mexico City talking about how regulation is impacting Mexico. And Felicia's bringing her experience from working in California to share that with the Mexican audience. And I just also want to say something that just really came to light to me while making this film, and I may sound a little naive, but capitalism gone awry. Like, this is a film about cannabis and women, but what's happening across the country and the attack on our democracy from these big businesses really needs to just be looked at. And we can make a difference by how we spend our money supporting the local farmers, local businesses, and to just kind of think about what's going on, because we are a free society, and everybody deserves a chance to reach the American dream or whatever they want to do. So.
One thing, I actually, because I was able to watch it with all of you with the full credits, I noticed all the support you had from the film community. And, there are not that many cannabis films out there. I hope there are more, and probably they are being made as we speak. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit of the experience of bringing this subject to the film funders, and how was that perceived?
That's an interesting question. So I'm a storyteller, and I try to find the drama of a story and bring up things that people don't think about, and give voice to people that haven't been given voice. So I really didn't know cannabis was that polarizing, I'll have to say. I had some great fortune to receive a few grants for this project, and I was really grateful about that. But raising money for a cannabis project, it might sound like it would be easy, but it isn't. But the film and arts organizations that supported me were fantastic. Women in Film, they want to highlight women filmmakers. The Sundance Institute, that was part of a women financing committee program. And then the cannabis community really did come through. I have to say, I had a very successful Kickstarter. We exceeded our goals. I've had a very successful GoFundMe. I mean, the people in the community want their story to be told. And there are people in the cannabis industry that wanted to support the film as well, and give back. So, but the sales process, that's a whole different conversation. I mean, we were fortunate to premiere the film at Hot Docs, which is the most prestigious documentary festival in North America. It was a fantastic launch. And my sales agents were CAA, and we tried for weeks and weeks and months to sell the film. And it was a mixed reaction, I have to say. Hollywood, they'll dip their toe in some things and will shy away from other things. And there's some streamers that didn't even want to link because it was a cannabis film. And I'm like, it's really not a cannabis film. It's a women's film. So it's interesting. And I think this points to the fact that we really do need to destigmatize the whole idea of cannabis and break down the stigmas and promote it as wellness. And, it's just a plant. But it still holds that stigma. And it was, yeah.
Wow, interesting. Maybe any of you would like also to share your experience as as Chris is fundraising for her film, in your case for your businesses, and how was that process for you? If anybody would like to share that.
Yeah, women, not just women in cannabis, women in general don't get the kind of funding that they're supposed to get, or the same kind of funding that the guys get. Very early on in the process of legalization, there would be guys out there putting together a deck and putting it in front of investors, and without even any experience or anything at all, they got the money immediately. So those are, we face those problems not only in cannabis, but we face those problems in the bigger business world as well. It's not just about cannabis, right? So it's women are not fully funded for their projects.
Yeah. So when Chris started this process, it was identified that there were more than the average amount of women leaders in the business, and that was one of the items that really drew her attention. Was 2 weeks ago, unfortunately, there was an article that came out that showed that trend is reversing. And so that kind of just goes back to what everyone has been saying here, is that it is so important for the consumers to be asking these questions and to be purchasing based on their values. We purchase based on our values so much more now as a society than we ever have before. And because cannabis has been so stigmatized, it's easy to not think about it in terms of that whole process. But try to think about it like that, and as you're going out there, ask, is this woman owned? Is this person of color owned? Is this heritage cultivator owned? And really make those efforts, because without the consumer making those efforts right now, it's going to be really challenging for all of these businesses to survive. And not just these, but the hundreds of other people that are represented, thousands of other people that are represented by this film. So the only people that can really make a difference right now, in addition to the people doing the work and the advocates doing the work, is you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
That is exactly the perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The film will be out on
much.
November 26th. November 26th.
Just in time for the holidays.
And it's also streaming online, so please tell your friends to watch it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.